Yes, we'll be talking about the unfortunate incident in Ibadan. Now, we've got Mr. Fatai Owoseni joining us this morning. He's the security advisor to the governor of Oyo State and former commissioner of police in Lagos and Benue State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, this is it's really unfortunate that things have, gone this bad. But could you just give us an insight into, because there are those who will say, look, the several groups have had disagreements before. It didn't get this bad. But this one, people still trying to figure out how did it degenerate to this level? Because many don't know, yes, that might have happened. But you don't know how else some of these things may turn out tomorrow. So could you just tell us, what is the current situation? How did we get here?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Very unfortunate, very sad incident as well. The narrative had been put out there, the immediate cause, the issue of a cart pusher, people they called me Barrow, who had dumped tomato in front of the shop of a pregnant woman. And while in the process of cleaning the thing up, the pregnant woman had said, oh, come, you cannot mess up the front of my shop. Come and pack everything and tidy up the place. And in the process, the cart pusher had pushed the pregnant woman who fell. And another person standing by approached the fellow. Don't you know this woman is pregnant? And the next thing from the story, eyewitnesses, was that this fellow used something like a ring, which they believed was a chance ring, to beat the third party that had intervened. And in the process, the guy started emitting foam from his mouth. Unfortunately, while they were making preparations, as they used to do in the market, to see how they can solve it, this fellow unfortunately died. And that led to what we had witnessed, a orgy of violence. But above all what has been narrated, it's not the first time we've had it before. In different places, not just in the Southwest, even in the North, that we have this issue of citizenship and settler. But the bottom line, from my perception, which everyone must agree to, is the deep-seated animosity between different ethnic groups in Nigeria. And I believe that it is high time that we start looking at that. We've always, scratched the surface. So that deep-seated animosity surely escalates the whole of what happened. And that is where people turned into, using people that you can call mercenaries. Because interacting with the people in Shasha, the people in the market, you will hear from the main traders who keep on saying, we don't want this to happen. We've been in this market for a very long time. And the leaders in the market, both sides, also keep on saying that, look, all these guys that are fueling the trouble are not part of us in this market. But it is easy to say these guys are not part of us in the market. How did they get into the market? Why is it that they've not been able to manage them? But whether we like it or not, the fundamental issue is that how do we address this deep-seated animosity that is fueling ethnic crisis, that is fueling religious crisis? We should just look at it holistically and not, scratch the surface. That's my view about it.
Well, again, one cannot even explain this in any sensible way whatsoever. One fatality is bad enough, but if you can just give us a few figures. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we have a it right there that 20 people were buried as a result of this fracas, and 5,000 people have taken refuge. Can you give us some figures, if that could help to put this in context?
Let me tell you, it is not a time to be giving figure, not at this moment. And of course, any reportage in the media that is giving figure, we should be careful. It is a little bit tense, and of course, the way we report things shouldn't be the way things that we escalate things. It is bad or worse enough that we've had this unfortunate incident, but doing things that could further escalate, that could further lead to more death, we should avoid it. Investigation, everybody is putting heads together, the leaders there, the law enforcement agents. So it's really hard now to say this is exactly what has happened. Because as of last night, meetings are still being held, and it is not when a mop-up operation is done that we can be say, okay, this is what could be an estimate of properties that were lost or lives that were lost.
Well, in the spirit of trying to ensure that this does not happen again, I remember, we had this conversation along this line when you talk about tensions between ethnic nationalities that have lived peacefully and harmoniously together for years, decades, nipping them in the bud to ensure that this does not happen again. It will seem like, even though unconnected, as you said, the animosity, the deep-seated animosities found a way to raise unfortunate ugly head in this occurrence that we have had. So in terms of making sure this does not happen again, what is the thinking? You remember, I asked that question the last time that, look, it's happened in Ibarakwa or Okeogun. What's the assurance that it's not going to happen elsewhere? And then this. No one expects that these things will happen, but then they will happen occasionally. Deep-seated animosities, clearly. How do we nip it in the bud? What's the plan? What's the thinking?
Thank you very much. You can't nip it in the bud if we don't come with sincerity on the table. We are shying away from the fact that we are getting far and far divided in this country. It is not just new. I've always emphasized something. A nation that don't know its history, if you don't have institutional memory. When I was in Lagos, we had this in Mile 12, we had it in Nigeria. In Bauchi, it happened. They didn't fool anything. Well, the Hausas element and Fulani element, went to war to say that, look, in Tidin Fulani, we have more of Hausas. Why is it that Fulani had always been the heads? You have it in Benue State. You have it in Plateau State. You have it. Just North would never do things with the Birom and all those things. So we must first accept that. We are shying away from that. The people that are ruling us are shying away from that. And one of the ways that I believe that this can be solved is that we've always emphasized and look at how to address the issues that come under Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which is the fundamental rights, because they are justiciable. It is not until when we match Chapter 4 of the Constitution with Chapter 2. We must live true to Chapter 2 of the Constitution that are provided some obligations. We've always said that they are non-justiciable, but these provisions, I believe, could solve some of this problem. People have been talking of let's separate and all those things. We must come to the fact that somehow there must be devolvement of powers. Somehow the government must be responsible. The people, the citizens must be responsible. Every sector of the community. If you look deeply into that Chapter 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. Quite a number of measures were provided there as any of the governments live up to that responsibility. And they've taken advantage of the fact that they said those principles are non-justiciable. That is it. Every governor will also come out to say, we should have state police. Some people have said we should even have local government police. If we can't have all these things immediately, why should we shy away even from the constitution that are provided for police council, where all the governors of the country are supposed to be members? They're supposed to deliberate on how policing is done. A lot of power is given to that unit. That's the police council. It is in the constitution, but we've not lived up to that. So any country that doesn't follow institutional memory, that are jettisoned extant rules and regulations, which are supposed to bind us together, will continue to have this kind of a thing. We shouldn't be scratching the surface. We should be able to solve all these problems holistically. Otherwise, they will continue to repeat itself and will continue to reinvent the wheel.
Well, we all need to ask ourselves questions and not lie to ourselves, because if we do, they'll know that. Whoever lies to himself will know that that is a lie. But you are at a vantage position. By that, I mean, having been commissioner of police in different states and been in the service for a long time and now advising on security as well. You've seen several incidences related to this, some of which you've highlighted. And in terms of addressing these problems, I mean, when you say deep-seated animosity, can we as a country actually address these things? Because some will say, look, where do we start? How do we begin to structure it or institutionally begin to address them? And speaking about institutions, because you expect that when security agencies wade into a matter, people are supposed to sheath their sword and trust them to do the right things. But at the moment, it appears as if that is missing. That even when security agencies step in, people still don't feel they should let go because they think they won't get justice. Does that come across to you that way? And if so, look, how do we address that?
When I said deep-seated animosity, it's not just about ethnic and religion alone, even against the institutions, even amongst the members of the institutions that wear uniform. Sometimes sentiments come in. I have witnessed it before. I saw it in Bauchi, where even people that are wearing uniform. We've introduced a lot of things into our system that are dangerous. It is now that you have a situation where some group of people would say, oh, the chief of army staff should come from my area. The inspector general of police should come from my area. Of course, before independence, the colonial masters, and immediately after independence, all these things are not there. You cannot go to a police station and see a DPO putting a calendar to put where is shown that is the chairman of one Yoruba something group or whatever. All of us that were in uniform believe that we won. But now, even in the institution, you now see people, gathering together. And of course, when I talked of addressing issues holistically, more and more people are being, taken out of job. There's so many soldiers of unemployed people. And when even we want to do palliatives, we do it in an elitist manner. Have we reached out to some of these hands? It's shameful that are leaders. Yes, all of us are involved, but the people that have been given, that authority to rule us, that have voted for, it's just shameful that everybody will come out and say that people are coming from Niger, people are coming from Chad, people are coming from Mali, and they're the people that are causing this. Who hosts them in the community? Why can't we do something to our border? If you know that these foreigners are coming, what have we done to stop it? What have we even done to address the issue of poverty? It is all over. We are facing it. We are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. A lot of people are out there that every opportunity they have, they want something to happen so that they can loot shops. We had the NSAS is still ongoing, which turned to almost a class war. And everybody says that we're speaking English grammar, we would talk of, we want to do this. Unfortunately, our elders, the elderly people that sat down then to say, oh, Nigeria should be one, they're the same people that are saying that, oh, everyone should go his own way. Is that a solution? Let us address this holistically. The people that have been trusted with power must be sincere enough. And we must also realize that government and governance are things that should continue. Not everybody tying whatever measures to the tenure of its administration. We've not been sincere to ourselves from the benefit of hindsight, from what I've also seen in the service. We must purge even the service of ethnic bigotry. Even in the service, the uniform service, all the uniform service, you have a group of people that will say, because the Inspector General of Police is from our own ethnic group, the chief of staff or the chief of naval staff of groups. Fiefdoms are created, and unfortunately, the people that get the powers pretend not to see all these things, that people are forming fiefdom under them. And that is why you have that. And that is why the trust is also not there again. That when you want to deploy a military, when you want to deploy a police, the people in the community will first say that, oh, the military is dominated by the north, the police is dominated by the south, or this one is dominated by the southeast or something like that. So it's security is a matter of perception. If you're going to a doctor and you already think that that doctor cannot save you, you would have this feeling of the doctor cannot heal me. So when people have that mistrust, that the people you are deploying are not part of us, you see them resisting, the resentment will come in. And of course, once that has come in, you have already destroyed everything. We must build strong institutions that will lead to the enabling laws that establish them. But the people that have been ruling have been shying, they're shy of this. The people that are in the National Assembly, they're shy of this. We just talk of mundane things, not the real issues that have been causing problems. You've said, what can we do for this not to happen? If we don't address the issue of sincerity, equity, fair play, justice in all the facets of our life, as stated in that chapter 2 of the Constitution, we're wasting our time. Everybody is just to himself, his personal interest. If you remember, if we have institutional memory, prior to 2015 loading, we had this kind of a thing. Campbell, everybody said Nigeria would not exist in 2019. And why is it that when elections are approaching, you have all this? It's because the people that have been given custody to rule us are not sincere. 2015, everybody said, oh, Nigeria will not stand, and all those things. And this is the same thing loading. We're approaching 2019. This is the second year of most of the government. Before you know it, towards the end of the year and next year, politicking will start. And when it is started, this is what we do. It is also a wake-up call for all Nigerians that if we continue to sit down and allow people to toggle us around, we would not get there.
Yeah. Because a lot of the people who beat these drums of war, they will never be in the front lines. And before you say Jack Robinson, they're out of the vicinity. They have the ways of ensuring that they're out of the scene even before it starts. But our markets now, a lot of markets look like that. No particular format, no real structure things are really fluid in terms of how the traders there mingle with one another. So speaking about low-hanging fruits, what steps are being taken to ensure that, first of all, let's stop this and ensure that anyone who tries to do anything doesn't succeed? Is the state government, what plans are there other than declaring curfew, allow things to calm? Because the nature of markets, this could just, happen again. So what's the thinking to ensure that, whenever the market is reopened, this will not happen?
Thank you very much. A kind of, robust meeting, an initial one, was held by His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde, the Executive Governor of Oyo State, with both sides and some key stakeholders up till late in the night yesterday. Some of them had also put issue of leadership in the market as one of the remote causes. And in that meeting, a lot of agreements had been reached. The so-called young people who want to take reign of leadership in the market had pushed the people that had been running the market aside. They've said, look, this market had been there for 40, 50 years. And then we had the joint leadership of the Bale of Shasha and the Seriki of Shasha, administering things. And some young people came to say they want to take the leadership of the market. So they made the leadership, the market to look as if there is no leader now. And everything, what is behind it is about what they can make out of all sorts of tickets and revenue they collect in the market. And looking at this, the elders had agreed to work together. I believe because some frank talk was made yesterday, and it is believed that this will help. It's not as if that market is new. So moving on, structures are being put in place. Immediate assistance is being worked out for people that have suffered losses. We know that lives cannot be replaced, but His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde, and of course you listen to Governor Akeredolu as well. You have people in Shasha Market, in some part of Oyo State, that are from the north who cannot even speak Hausa language. That their grandparents will be there, their great-great-grandparents. So when we talk of, let us separate, we also have to look into that. Some of the houses that were burnt, you'll find out that a Yoruba man is the landlord, Hausas are the tenant. In some of them, Hausa is the landlord, Yorubas are the tenants. So how do we really separate this? We shouldn't head towards Rwanda. And that is what the governor of Oyo State has been preaching, that all these things that appear to be part of the deep-rooted animosity, which cannot be solved only in Oyo State, is a general thing in the country for now. But the ones that we can solve, leadership of the market, how to also ensure that those guys that are infiltrating into the market, because the Hausa community had said most of the guys that started that fell this trouble, they're just boys that either from Niger, Chad, or whatever, that had nothing doing in that market. So efforts are being made to see how these people can be profiled. So that the traders want to go back to business. They want to live in peace as they've been doing. So all these measures are being put in place. I strongly believe that with sincerity of purpose and sincerity of mind of everyone that is taking part in this talk,
all right,
we should be. It is believed that this would help in a way. But I follow in line with what Their Excellencies, the Governor of Ondo State and the Governor of Oyo State said yesterday. we should do everything in our power. Yes, as a government, we are trying to do that. But as a people, and some of us that have the responsibilities to send the narratives out there, to avoid anything that we make us to lose any additional life or have any additional destruction. It is already a bad situation. It's been addressed, but we should be somehow modest in the narratives we give out. And like the governor of Oyo State had always said, something that was unusual yesterday was the governors came out, and the governor of Oyo State came out to say, we're very sorry. We know things have been bad. It cannot be fixed just in a twinkle of an eye. So if you've seen a government that has said, oh, we're sorry for what has happened, the governor has always talked about limited opportunity. If you want to address the problems in the country and in Oyo State holistically, it's going to be a gradual process. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. We're talking of limited opportunity. How do we expand the economy in order to make sure that we put people out of the streets? To an extent, we need to be patient. All this fire brigade approach will not help. And if we're patient and we allow government all over the country with sincerity to broaden the growth, development, and everything, so that this limited opportunity will be solved. We'll be able to, have people. We'll be able to stop all this restiveness of different gangsters and all those things. We must realize something. At the end of the day, if we fight, if we kill, all over the world, at the end of the day, we'll come to the table, the round table again. Should we kill? And if you think it is about politics and whatever, if you use all these games to win power, who are you going to rule over? And at the end of the day, the thing will still also come and face you, whether you like it or not. So there are certain things we need to set aside all these political considerations. There are serious issues in the country now, and the main one is this deep-seated animosity that is fanning the ember of ethnicity, religion, and all those other things. The issue of citizenship, indigenship, and settlers as well. There are some countries that they don't care. How do you have a situation where I live in Kano State? My third generation have lived in Kano State, and my children have been going to school there, and they want to write JAMB or whatever. You are saying that, because you originated from Oyo State, children that have not been to Oyo State before, you are saying that you will use the quota, the cutoff mark of Oyo State. Government should address this. We will not solve this problem if we don't live in sincerity. We should take all this ethnicity, state of origin. Yes, we don't like making comparison. You live in the United States of America. It's the state where you pay your tax to. That is your state, for God's sake. But you come here, the first thing you say on the form is religion, state of origin. I think the people that we've entrusted the power to lead us, for once, should be sincere. We've not seen sincerity on the part of the people who've, given the trust to lead us, starting from the National Assembly. It seems as if all of us, because any of us can find ourselves in it, we are speaking now. Who knows whether I get there? Who knows whether you get there? It's the same thing we come and repeat. So all of us must live in sincerity. And hopefully we'll be able to address this. Nigeria seems to be sitting on a keg of gunpowder. All those panels, whatever. What have we done with the communique? What have we done with the recommendations? People will go around, will spend money doing something that is like jamboree, and no one will go back, to institutional memory. Let us compile this. What have we not done out of these recommendations? Far-reaching recommendations have been made in the past on all these things. Nobody cares. The government goes, another government comes. Everybody wants to tie whatever he has done to his name, for God's sake. It's not as if they use their personal money. Someone is doing this project. It is tied to this person. So, your state, we want to move on. We want to ensure that people are able to live peacefully. The governor is looking at those low-hanging fruit. What can we do immediately? How can we gradually solve all these things that have been systemic, that have been living with us? But can we do it in isolation? No. All over Nigeria now, there is no state in this country that would say that is having peace. There is no state in this country that people are not living in fear, that tomorrow some people can come and say, you are not from here. The ones that are not having this ethnic problem, it is banditry everywhere. I think sincerity should take the forefront and the mind of the people that we've entrusted, this power to lead us.
Well, just before we sign out in this conversation, Mr. Owoseni, what you are saying essentially is that we have a varied number of reasons for which you have insecurity in all sectors of the nation. But at the end of the day, security or a lack of it is about people. Now, let's drill this down now. All the lofty ideals, ideas, programs, policies of government that you have talked about in your state now, fantastic, some would say. But percolating those ideals down to the people is the issue. And where we have large gatherings of people, such as the markets, until the people take ownership of these issues, there is going to be the problem. From time to time, it could rear its ugly head. How do we nip that in the bud? For instance, this market now, some have thought about, wait a minute, why don't we have soft structures such that, okay, everyone knows everyone. So when you notice a strange person coming into the environment, you already quickly, address that person, find out who the person is, so it doesn't become an insecurity issue. Is that part of the plan along the line of getting the issue of security ownership down to the brass tacks?
If you followed the executive governor of Oyo State, His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde, the issue of identity management is one of the key things that the state is pursuing. Yes, there are issues as to what is allowed by the federal government, what can the state do on its own. So they want the state can do it on its own. The state is doing it and putting up the structure. Somehow as well, if you've also followed Governor Seyi Makinde, with him emphasizing this limited opportunity, he has been adopting this style of, look, people must own their actions. People must live responsibly. That it is not about carrying cudgel, carrying guns to pursue people, to make them to obey the law. That when people buy into the law, it will be easy. You won't have to expend so much money. We expend so much money in enforcement. And of course, even in the whole criminal justice administration, the courts are not enough, the judges are not enough. So the state is trying to, see how the mind of the people can be attuned to being responsible citizens. And that is why the governor has always emphasized, people must own their action. People must buy into the measures put in place by government. And once you have that, honestly, one of the reasons I had always talked, saying that I'm pessimistic about community policing is that it's not as if we don't have it before. We've been having community policing, but you can't put something on nothing. All the countries we are aping, all the countries we are copying, the citizens already have and recognize and live to the truth that there is what they call civic obligation of the citizen. We don't have it in the country. If you don't have a people recognizing that they have a civic obligation, that think that everything that is done to help government, to help law enforcement, they must be paid for it. You cannot have a successful,
Yeah, as you wind down on this one, do you see any role for our lawmakers, both at the federal and state level?
Oh, seriously. Seriously, they must wake up. That is why I keep on emphasizing. As many of the lawmakers talk about that chapter 2 of the Constitution, I strongly believe, that's my own personal belief, that if we live true to that, that is the area our lawmakers, from the National Assembly to the state, should be talking about. That provision has said that that they set up the fundamental obligations of the government, the obligations of the people itself, economic objectives, that people must be provided with work, people must be given medical attention, people that are working must be given living wages, that no one in this country should suffer. As any of our lawmakers really do they even know or have at their mind to that? You've not seen any robust debate on that. So they have a huge role to play. Most of the things they will always talk about are those ephemeral things that that seems to be things personal to them. No, we not have a good country if we continue like that.
All right, Mr. Owoseni, Special Advisor to the Governor of Oyo State on security matters, as well as a former Commissioner of Police in Lagos and Benue States. Thank you for talking to us today on the program.
Thank you so much.